Hi, everyone, and welcome to Portraits and Conversation. I'm Pierrette Masimango, and I'm excited to have a very special guest with us today. Her name is Stacey Munro. She is a breaking news producer for CP24, live television news producer as well. She is an avid runner, and we have a mutual enthusiasm for skincare. So, hi, Stacey, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you for that introduction. Yes, I'm a big skincare enthusiast.
Yeah, I think we have enough text messages going back and forth of, did you try this? Did you see this vitamin C? Did you see this brand? So I appreciate someone who can get as excited about skincare as I do in a little bit of a nerdy way, shall I say?
This I can confirm. Yeah.
Very good. So I guess my first question to you, just because I do know that it's your day off today, but I always love asking you this because I always get a thrill out of the times and the answers that you give me. But as a knowing that you're a news producer, so what time did you wake up today?
Today was a lovely sleep in at 6:30. Yeah, so
See, I was not. I was expecting you to say something a bit later than that, but 6:30 was when you slept into. So, what time do you usually wake up?
my schedule varies, but I regularly wake up at 3 a.m. for,
Wow.
for my shift. Rarely, sometimes I could even wake up at 1:45 if I start at 3. But
Yeah.
I generally wake up at 3 to start at 4.
Is that your is that your least favorite part of the job?
One of them, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
it gets easier, and it's there are things I can do to make it hurt less, but
It
it's
still hurts.
it still hurts. It
Oh
still
my gosh.
happens like a shock. Yeah.
Even after how far into your career are you now? Just to get a sense of how much it still hurts after all these years.
I've been waking up. I've been having early starts sporadically my entire career. I've been doing this 18 years. So yeah, yeah, and I can think back as far as 2002, 2003, doing the odd 4 a.m. start, 3:15 starts, yeah, and then now 3 and 4 o'clock starts.
Oh my gosh. I, I watch obviously morning news, and it was actually a big part of my high school years. For some reason, I had, this little TV in my room, and I'd always watch the morning news. And you're seeing that these people are starting the broadcast at 6 in the morning or 7, not realizing all of the work that leads up to getting something to air at that time, and what time, essentially you guys have to get there. So you're essentially like waking up in the middle of the night just for us to get our news. So thank you, because for all of those years, I'm just backtracking and thanking you for that.
Thank you.
And so we talked about that being not maybe your favorite part. What is your favorite part of being a breaking news producer?
I feel good when we get it right.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I mean, getting it right is kind of a broad answer. There are a lot of things we can get right. Sometimes getting it right is just like showing up on time in the right place, like just. And then other times, getting it right is the ability to tell a story in the allotted time with the breadth and the depth that I feel it deserves, and when I know it hits, right? When I know people receive what I intended for them to receive, right? I think
Mm-hmm.
that like the times when we can like say, yeah, we got this, right? Sometimes getting it right can be technical, like getting the right shot, hearing the right sound, in a live situation, when things just fall into place, is nice. Like when we're live on the air and we're waiting for somebody who happens just to be like walking down the hallway, like a politician or a dignitary, and we're live, like there they are, let's get them. and then we're able to get them and get that clip and get that moment. That those are good. Those are,
Would
yeah.
you say that that happens a lot, or are those like fleeting moments that you like live for, or are you looking for that on like every shift, every day that you go in, you're looking for that feeling?
I mean, you're hoping for it. You can never predict. I recall, what was the year? 2017. See, the Invictus Games, 2017 or 2016, when Prince Harry was in Toronto promoting the Invictus Games, and we were all looking out for Harry and Meghan. And because, forgive me, I'm trying to think of how confirmed we were about how much this was a relationship at the time, but we
Mm-hmm.
hadn't seen them in public. The public had not seen Harry and Meghan. I think, yeah, safe to say we knew there was a Harry and Meghan at this point. So this day he was at Nathan Phillips Square because there were some games there, some events there. And we had a copy of his itinerary, and we knew where he was going to be, whether it was there, York University, or here or there, whatever in the city. And in my rundown, I was live on air that day. So for me, live on air means I'm in the control room speaking to the anchor, and our live eye coordinator, all part of a team downstairs who are speaking to the cameraman, trying to get people in place. I'm communicating with the anchor, and he and I know what's happening that day. So there's also a lot of ad-libbing too. So our anchor, Nathan Downer, was saying, Prince Harry's in Toronto. This is, he's here for the Invictus Games. We're hoping to see him today. And we had a live camera at Nathan Phillips Square. And the way the show goes, we tell some stories, we go to commercial break. We tell some stories, we go to commercial break. We do traffic and weather, and then, the hour is over. And I'm watching the clock, I'm watching the time, I'm watching our cameras, and we're out of stories. We're about to go to commercial break. And Nathan is saying, coming up next, we're going to have more. And I yell at him, I'm like, stay up, we have him. And Nathan, and you have to understand, I mean, like, it's not, when you're speaking, it's hard to listen to someone who's speaking to you. So he's trying to do his job. I'm speaking at him, right? And he has to kind of pull that off without sounding like this jarring shrill voice in his ear if it's me. And he's like, we're just going to hang out here at Nathan Phillips Square and see what's going on, because he had instructions from me. And then sure enough, we get the shot of Harry and Meghan, and it's the first shot.
Oh my gosh.
And the photogs were there, and that was a photo op that was first seen of Harry and Meghan in public, and we took that.
Yeah.
Like, that's a fleeting moment. That's a moment where I was just like, we got the shot. Yeah.
Yeah. And how did you feel that day in that moment?
Fantastic. It was, I was part of it. I mean, clearly it's not all down to one person. We had to have, everyone had to be in place. We were all at the right time and the right place at the right time. Right. And I have my, on my desk at work, I have the reverse shot of that. I have our cameraman with them kind of off to the side, and because there were some talented people that all made that happen. So yeah, it was a great feeling.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I mean, there's those moments, and then there's just some moments that are like, I don't want to say crazy, but just there's so much news. I think about the beginning of this summer, and actually this entire summer, how hectic the news has been. And then especially the beginning of the summer with the pandemic and all the information that was coming our way. I was thinking, it just felt like we were being bombarded with news, all the stats, all of the information that we're trying to figure out. And I'm thinking, how is Stacey doing? Because you're producing the news. It feels like it's in overdrive. You're already in breaking news. What was that time like for you?
Difficult. Yeah, there is a lot. There was a lot going on. We're all learning about something new, about this virus, what it is, what it isn't, what it can or can't do, where it is it in our city, how many cases? So yeah, there are the numbers and there's the science. that we're trying to report. There's a response to it, which is, how our local, municipal, and federal leaders are responding, and we're presenting that,
Mhm.
and we're learning. We're all learning as we go,
Mhm.
um, and yeah, it's a lot. And I think, for me, I break it off in chunks. But in like, a little chunk can be like, what's happening today? What's this leader, community or political leader or medical official saying today? What's the best piece of information we can pull from that to tell our viewers, uh,
Mhm.
to give them the most information to make their decisions, so we can. And it's kind of, the coronavirus for me was kind of, sometimes when we cover stories, I leave the workday and it's there, right? Or maybe it's going on somewhere else or another part of the world. But as the story unfolded, it was, we were living it, right? So I'm
Yeah.
presenting information that I think the viewers would want to know, and at the same time, I'm like, yeah, you might want to you might want to remember that for yourself,
Might
right?
want to social distance.
Yeah, exactly. I'm telling people all day to social distance when I myself need to social distance, right?
Yeah.
Um,
How did take me behind the scenes a little bit? What was it? Did you guys social distance? Did you guys take certain measures? Like, camera crews are
yeah.
usually tight knit crews. How did you? What were the mechanics of producing the news at that time?
Yeah, big changes for us, in the newsroom when we cover, and those decisions are left up to, our leadership team. But what we did and what we're still doing was we physically, broke our teams up into three. So I come into the newsroom, with some other writers and producers, and we took over an alternate space in our building, and we split our group in two. So physically, there are half as many people in the room, was one thing we did. And some of those people I haven't seen since spring, like
Wow.
physically. I've seen them on social media. Um, and then we have outside and inside reporters. Normally, a reporter will come to work, check in, we high five each other in the newsroom, we chat, we sit and have a coffee, and they go off to their story. Now, inside and outside reporters. And the people who are currently outside, the outside cats, we call them, physically do not come into our building. They
Wow.
can't even come in to use the washroom or grab a coffee. They're not allowed inside. Reporters and cameramen ride together in the same car or truck, and that doesn't happen anymore. They ride separately. Um, so those are some of the things that like we physically do differently, and signage everywhere in our newsroom just
Yeah.
remind, maintain social distance, sitting at every other desk, lots of antibacterial wipes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
lots of sanitizer, but we see that everywhere now. So
Does
yeah.
that does that affect how you do your job? Like, does that keep you on edge, or how does all that hyper awareness come into what you're doing on a daily basis? Like, even mentally, how does that affect you?
It does affect me mentally, because, well, the physical rhythm of my day, I work in two desks. I work in the newsroom, and then I go physically walk downstairs to the control room, log on, and we're in the control room. And that's a smaller physical room where we sit close together, and there's lots of buttons and things to push and touch, and we all have a computer, and then we all share that physical computer. So there's wiping the computer down, there's wearing the mask when we walk from room to room, which is now it's an inside place.
Yeah.
So in the rhythm and the sometimes often hectic rhythm of the news day, like I'm like, oh, I have to grab a mask, oh, I have to this, or I'm speaking to someone through a headset, so I take my mask off, or then can you hear me through the mask? I'm sorry, this sounds muffled. And there's times where I kind of just roll my eyes, like, how is this a thing? I can't believe we're doing this. I can't believe we're here.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I can't believe we're here. Even, I mean, I don't have the experience of being in the newsroom, but even just walking down the street, and I'm a big advocate for the mask. I actually like my mask. I want to wear my mask, but the visual of seeing everyone outside, we're all kind of muffled to a certain extent. We're all wearing these masks, and it does make me sad. Like, I won't stop wearing my mask because of it, because I think it's really important for our safety. But just the visual of that, seeing everyone, it's such a specific time that we're in,
Yes.
and it's our new normal. And to see everyone wearing their mask, for everyone else's safety,
Yeah.
you know, it's important. But I do find that the visual does sadden me, that we've gotten to this point, and it is what we have to do. I don't know. I just think about that often, like that this is where we're
Yeah.
at now, so the other thing I wanted to talk about the summer and the news is that it's been really hard for us, for Black people. There's been a lot of news. There have been, I can just run through all of the moments, starting with, Amy Cooper. Then we started grieving Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Regis Kerchinsky Paquette, and now we're thinking about Jacob Blake. And this is news that has been unrelenting this summer. It's happening to us. You're a Black news producer, and I've been thinking about, how do you produce the news when the news is happening to you and to your people? Like, I don't know if I don't know if I'd be able to do it. How are you able to do that?
Um, it's a lot. I it's been a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's it's one of those things, like the virus. I mean, it's unfolding. We're all watching it unfold, and then I have the added responsibility of presenting it.
Yeah.
So, and on top of that, it's layered, because on top of that, I present that I do my job as a producer within the pillars of what we've created as journalism, right? So,
Mhm.
and journalism and the job of what I do and where I do it is uh, a concept that's deeply rooted in supremacy. So I mean, there are simple concepts like, I'm a Black woman that does something where there are not a lot of Black women. I work in an environment that has existed for many years on many assumptions that need to be dismantled and changed. I've long known that, but I haven't had the tools or the language or to be honest, the courage to speak up and say, this is wrong. I've been getting up and going to work for years, right?
Yeah.
And up until now, I've been doing that with I've been in a white space. The newsroom is a white space. Journalism in Canada is a white space. Um, the the structures and the leadership um, is a white space, right? So I've been kind of uh, um, navigating and being in a very tight box, and in that we've accepted certain things, or I have accepted certain things as a Black woman, for better or for worse, right? So now, I mean, there are certain things that I find, sure, whenever there's a story, it's always been the case, was like, you kind of feel little twinges of, oh, that sucks, or that's too bad, or this is awful, and then that little twitch gets louder and louder, and I find now in 2020 it's just so loud it can't be
Yeah.
ignored. So I find myself having conversations with respected and esteemed colleagues who are not Black, who are seeing things for the first time. And after I take a moment and just catch myself, and I say, like, I can't believe you're not seeing this till now. Oh, but okay. Um, I I find the best way to respond, right? And I find the best way to still kind of carry on and present and do my job. But it's opened the door to have conversations. And I'm also at the stage, it's a nice confluence, because not only has it opened the door to have these conversations, I've found that I have the courage to say what I want to say. I'm finding the words to say what I've long wanted to say now.
Yeah, I do find that this is a time where we're mutually all tapping into courage. You know, you talked about for years you just got up and went to work and accepted certain things. And I think we all did that. We're doing that, and I see that many of us are just like, I don't even think we can go back to just accepting those things, you know. And so we're all mutually speaking up. Are there, you talked about a couple of things that you might have just let pass, or you noticed and you didn't speak up. Do you want to mention, can you talk about what some of those might have been?
Yeah, sure. There was one of the stories that came up like during in these headlines, was a uh, Canadian, Hal Johnson and Joanne McLeod from
Yeah,
Body.
yeah,
Yeah. We covered a story one day where he came out and said that his journey uh, was partly based on the fact that he responded to a racist experience. Someone told him that he couldn't be a sportscaster because they already had a black reporter.
yeah.
And then my colleagues, various people in the newsroom responded with like shock and disappointment and shook their heads. And it kind of ranged from like, oh, that sucks, that's too bad. I was like, I can't believe that happened. And even a couple of cases of like, that didn't happen. And and I don't know if it happened. I wasn't there. I wasn't him. I didn't take that phone call. But did I believe him? Of course I believed him. And I just didn't. And and two things. In my experience, I mean, my experiences in life, I tend to diminish or discount them, which is something I need to work on doing. But something just like dropped in my head that was as plain as day. And I was like, it happened to me. And somebody said, what? And I said, I think totally happened to me.
Wow.
As I was telling my story, I'm like, yeah, it did happen. Like, and what my hesitation was in the fact that I had doubted it all this time. I
Right.
did not doubt that it happened. I wasn't unsure of anything. I know who said this to me. I know a boss in the newsroom said to me, you know, we already have a black girl, basically, right? And no, not
As
basically.
as a producer, a black producer,
No, a reporter.
as you were a reporter at the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yes. So just to be clear, like early in my career, I had aspired to become a reporter, and I did some reporting. So I had some reporting experience. So and I think as was the case in the early 2000s, when you get out of school, like everybody wanted to be a reporter, everybody wanted to be a VJ.
Oh yeah.
But everybody wanted to be on TV, which is fine now because I don't. But in my journey, Nick, knocking on doors, like a popular response was, "We already have a black reporter," and to which I would say, "Okay, well, thank you. Can I produce, or can you look at my writing, or maybe I
Yeah.
can write?" And it was never my response to say like, "That's ludicrous."
Well, it is ludicrous. But I look at the news now, and I sometimes wonder if that conversation or that response is still happening, where there are some, you know, especially on CP24, but when you look across the landscape for news in Canada, there is only one, you know, in the on certain channels, or there are none at all. And so I do wonder if that conversation is still happening, or that response is still happening, but maybe in a slightly different way. You know?
Yeah, I'm willing to say yes. I think there's just black reporters are still bound by a different rule book.
Mm-hmm.
My experience is black reporters have are rarely given the benefit of uh, unbiased reporting,
Mm-hmm.
rarely given the benefit of, or always have to kind of prove the same facts that their white counterparts would present. Um, and I know that for fact. I mean, I've had conversations with general viewers who receive the same information differently from
Wow.
a black reporter versus a white reporter. And again, I have to like take a deep breath and say like, this is mind blowing. But I think we're still unfortunately dealing with a different set of rules, and because of that, um, it's possible it's possible that we're not sure if a, if leadership is always willing to take that risk,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
And go ahead.
No, I was actually thinking about leadership's like role in this, where we have all of these diversity and inclusion actions happening, initiatives happening, and requests for more diversity on screen and behind the camera. But if there's still that thought that we don't have, if we're not really being taken seriously as being able to report in an unbiased way, then all of these initiatives that are happening in the face of what leadership thinks, like what is the point? That was the thought that was going through my mind.
It remains performative, and we need
Yeah.
to move past we need to move past the performative, and we have to move into a space where the work for diversity and inclusion is genuine, and that includes a real understanding of what genuine means, right?
Mm-hmm.
um, and there is still so much more work to be done. uh,
Yeah. And
yeah.
what does that mean? What does it mean to you? Or how would you envision that?
um, that's big. Really looking at what journalism has become, and it's and being able to look at things from all sides. I think journalism and storytelling in Canada has been accepted as one way, and now we're telling stories where we want to where we want to talk about, talk about the statues, talk about the symbols, um, talk about our history, talk about the things that Canada was formed on, right? And and then really tell the stories of how this has been received by our BIPOC community, our Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Really, how what the experience has been for them.
Yeah.
We have to tell the story. We have to tell the unbiased history of residential schools, and what that means, and I find oftentimes a story of Canada is about nation building and conquering and establishing trade and establishing a system and establishing communications to build this nation, but without pausing to think of the people that get how people have been treated along the way.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there's a lot of things there. There's a lot of things there.
So as we try to get to that, and in your role, um, being a BIPOC producer, what do you think? Um, what do you think your role is in that and getting there? Or do you think it is part of your role?
Yes, it's definitely part of my role. It could be something as simple as always trying to find. I mean, a journalist always wants to find the right person to tell the story, um, and I find when we tell these stories about diversity and inclusion and giving a balanced look at history, finding the right person can be a little bit harder. Uh, we want to find, I try to find voices of color, and not just for the sake of color, but at times for the sake of color. Um, so that can be difficult in times. Like you want to find the right person, but you want to find the right person to tell the story, to tell all viewers why this is important.
Mm-hmm.
Who
Mm-hmm.
really has, someone to say that this is my experience. I just want you to listen and have it sit with you. Just have this truth sit with you. This
Right.
is what happened, right?
And has that always been your philosophy, or do you find that that is kind of shifted now, or more well shaped now because of the times we're in? I'm thinking about Stacey, who was coming out of school or just at the beginning of her career. Um, can you kind of compare where you're at now with what you just described, and how you might have been when you were just starting out?
Hmm. Yeah. It's always evolving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're always, trying. I find at the beginning of my career, I think, and this is a maybe, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I mean, at the beginning of my career, there may have been less voices to choose from. They were always there, but we didn't always know about them.
Right.
Right? Um, uh, these voices have maybe become a little more prominent due to social media. It's a little more democratizing that way, where you can just really pick out people who are profound and saying things. Whereas before, the form of journalism was you run around with a camera and you roll tape and you cut it and you put it together in time for your story. And when you're running around looking for people, we basically have a Rolodex of experts and leaders who, for the most part, are white people, right?
Yeah.
So if you want somebody to speak on a given topic, you're like, okay, I'm going to go to this politician, I'm going to go to that expert, I'm going to go to this community leader, um, and they are not likely to be a person of color. So as time goes on, it's been my observation that, yeah, we meet more people, we build a Rolodex, we kind of make connections with certain communities, and then yes, as journalists evolves, they do meet more people and they do create more contacts. So that's one evolution. Another evolution is social media, like I said. Um, and that just kind of makes it a little easier to have those voices heard.
Right.
So yeah, there's been times when, um, yeah, there's been times I find when there's a pretty standard way to tell a story, and there are the resources that many journalists know about in any given story, but for example, Ahmaud Arbery,
Mm-hmm.
um, the runner who, the black man who was shot and killed by a white man and his son while he was out running because he was suspected of breaking into a house or for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Um, the way One way to cover that story was, yes, present the facts, and that's what happened. We were taking, we were hearing from different authorities, like in the city where it happened, and reporting on the news as it happened. But I saw a different angle, and it was hearing from people in the Black community in the States, from the running community, and these were people that weren't in any of our channels, weren't in any of our resources at work, and you kind of had to, for me, because I'm a runner, because I'm a Black woman, because I'm connected with people in the States, some I've met, some I've never met. I've only met on social media. And I thought, you know what? I think we need a different voice. So I found a Black woman in New York City who created Harlem Run and was able to really speak to um, the response from where she was standing
Right.
and what it meant to her as a Black woman, what it meant to her as a runner, what it meant to what it meant to her as an American. And you weren't going to get those responses from a police chief press conference.
No, absolutely not. So you took that initiative. Is are you encouraging your colleagues, your white colleagues, your non-Black colleagues to take those same steps, or is this something that you feel is on you to have to do?
I'm 100% encouraging them to take these steps.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And what's the response like when you
Um,
push?
it's 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 been well. It depends on the given. It really depends. I think my hesitation comes from the fact that it takes a couple of things to kind of fall into place to have the right person think, like, oh, we need to hear another voice on this. Like, who is that other voice? You may find the right person, you may find kind of the right person, but I think it's an ongoing effort,
Right.
right? And my what would be pleasurable to me is that if my colleagues would at least try, right? And yeah, day by day, yeah, we are right. And I think moving forward, I think what a nice place to get to would be if that happened automatically
Yeah.
without my encouraging, right?
Yeah.
Because that story happened, we can't just take a clip from an official and move on with the day. Like, I really want to dig deeper and talk about um, the meaning or the gravity of having a Black man shot while out for a run. Uh,
Yeah.
and really have somebody, if I have a viewer pause and think about the radical act of running as a person of color, then I've done my job,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the fact that maybe it's not um, the difference for a person of color versus a white person going out for a run. And 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 if it's dismissed as like, as I don't see what the big deal is, I mean, everybody runs, everybody can run, like, let's get on with the day. No, actually, I think it's very different, and I just need you to consider some ways and how it's different, and how, if you connect the dots, what we get to is Ahmaud Arbery being shot dead while going
Yeah.
out. And that's why we need to stop and think and pause, and how my experience may be different from your experience.
Yeah.
Right?
And to think and pause, and for you to do that in the format of content that you produce, which is breaking news, which is fast, which there isn't really time to wait, right? That's that extra step that's just that much more meaningful, and I appreciate so much that you take it and you do it and that you share with your team the importance of doing that. I think that's also revolutionary, right?
Well, thank you. Yeah, when it comes together, it feels good. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm sure that the segment and the piece just is that much better, right? So I wanted to think back again a little bit more. Um, if you were to give some advice to, that uh, Black student who's in journalism or who's just starting out their career and they're wide-eyed and ambitious, and thinking about some of the either the trials and tribulations or the great moments, or some of the steps that you've taken, the realities of the work now that you know it. What advice would you give?
Hmm. Wow. I don't want to say anything too broad, like, be fearless.
Yourself.
Yeah. I can't say be fearless, because I think, sure, we all have fear. I've had fear. I think what I've experienced looking back, it took me a while to figure out, like, I've been doing this. Like, when it comes time to say, like, get out there and do it, I'm doing it. And I was like, have you been doing this? Like, but no, I think for advice, I'd say keep producing, keep documenting, create for yourself. And with technology and with social media and today, you can have your own database. Like, tell stories,
Mm-hmm.
present them on your website, present them on your Instagram stories, keep a record of them, write them, create imagery, present that imagery, like use the tools around you. Those tools were very crude when I was starting out, and even more so before that. I mean, you were at the mercy of someone else rolling tape for you. Then you had to like have a copy of that tape and for a record, learn the technology, use the technology, um, own your content,
Yeah.
right? And understand the power of your content.
Yeah.
Um, I find this is a thought that comes to me, which is uh, slightly related. I was thinking about social media influencers, and I was just like out on a run yesterday, and I saw somebody recording someone else on a skateboard, but the thought that came to my mind was like, you got to get that content, right? You know, people are out getting content, and I find young people coming up now they have a concept of content. I didn't.
Right.
In my day, I was like more about storytelling, about trying to get on TV or trying to get a piece written, or like trying, you know, like young people now don't have to get on TV. They don't have to get on camera. They don't have to like try to get a piece written. If you have a computer, you can stick your face on, you can write something and post it. Like, that's done for you, right?
Yeah.
So the trick now is content that is unique and that is valued.
Mm-hmm.
So that and what is it that you can produce? What is a story that you can tell? And that is of value, that would make someone say, like, there are an endless list of people out there posting photos or selfies or pictures of dogs or whatever. What makes yours special, and what do you have to say about it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So I think, yeah, my roundabout way of saying that is my advice to a young person is know the value of your content and create that content and own it. Yeah.
Takes note to self. You know, as we do this, you know, it kind of is that. I mean, I'm grateful for Zoom, which we're on today, and the ability to do this, and it has given me the opportunity to talk to you, which was really, really insightful. Like, there's certain things that you've said that have given me a view into news and journalism that honestly I haven't heard anywhere else. You know, I haven't heard anyone say. So thank you so much for that. And just thank you for participating. Thank you for the beautiful photo shoot that we did by Ontario Place. So everyone, as you remember, this is Portraits and Conversation. So there is a whole portrait set that goes along with this insightful interview. Everything will be in the blog post accompanying this video. And I hope that you enjoy it all. So is there anything lastly that you'd like to say, that you'd like to add, just as we wrap everything up?
Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, I think we're doing this at a real magic time. It's been a real magic time, 2020. I oh, I think I've seen, there are times I have work days where I think I've seen it all, or as you see something wacky or something crazy that evokes anger or sadness. But this year, I think I've really seen it all. So this is a time to capture this, and I thank you for the opportunity. Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, it's September. We still have
You know.
a couple of months to go. There's that meme where they, you know, it's like every month it's been something different in each month. And I'm just kind of like October, November, December, you know, just be kind to us. Hopefully we'll make it through, but there's definitely been a lot of learning through everything that we've seen and experienced this 2020. So thank you again, and I'll see you. I'll see you soon.
I will see you too. Yeah, stay safe.
Yes, stay safe. Wear your mask.
Yeah. Thanks, Pierrette.
Thank
Bye.
you.